Hey guys, welcome to Relationship Chronicles. Today we have a cheating revenge story from one of my subscribers, and I will walk you through it, and afterwards I'll give you my opinion and advice to this subscriber on how to deal with this situation. Here we go. Parents want us to reconcile. Almost 4 months ago, my best friend's wife tells me my wife and her husband are having an affair. My SW was careful. He was not OBS, gave me lots of proof including text and pictures. Once I learned that the affair had been going on for a few years, I was done. Call logs and texts dated back when I was still working 16-hour days earning my engineering degree, including nights that were supposedly girls' night out, and I was home watching the kids. Her friends were all cheating on their husbands and covering for each other. OBS decided to reconcile purely out of lack of financial means to leave at Pete. I chose to leave my WS. I got a lawyer and process to make a plan before confronting her. Once I had everything I needed, I kicked my WS out of my house, changed the locks, split the accounts, and served her papers. She had zero claims to the house, and I had moved her ship her stuff to her parents. She's fallen on hard times since we split. She had to get a place with college-age roommates and start working 2 jobs. Today, my parents and her parents had their own intervention of sorts, wanting us to reconcile for the kids. The kids are fine. They're with me 90% of the time. Our parents have been listening to her sob stories while she minimizes the facts. She was banging my best friend this whole time. She's super sorry, so it's okay, rolling eyes face. They railed about the way I publicly outed her affair and threw her out. They called it immature and vindictive. Furthermore, they think me staying in contact with the OBS is inappropriate despite being friends with her and her family for over a decade. They even accused us of having an inappropriate relationship despite having zero proof or anything remotely inappropriate. We are not having sex, we're not kissing, we're not dating. We babysit kids for each other, drink coffee and talk and exchange non-sexual favors. I save her a plate of food if her kids stay for dinner a few times a week she's in class. I'm the only family OBS has in our state since her family has distanced themselves from her after her husband got caught and has been sent to prison for sex with minors, including OBS' underage cousin, embezzling money from real estate investors shortly after he was outed for cheating. I'm beside myself. I feel gutted and betrayed all over again. Even though I've told her it's over and tried my best to go minimal contact, she just can't take no for an answer and now has everyone on her side. I'm not taking her back. She's just sorry. She got caught, he went to prison and lost all his money. She's not sorry for betraying me for years while playing me for a complete fool. I worked for years to give her and I a good life and I got shit on. She'd still be asking him in a hotel room or his car on her back had he not been caught by his wife. My XW also made the accusations OBS outed her to get revenge on her and steal her life. My WS is now saving herself for when I take her back, raised eyebrow. OBS life has been a big train wreck. She and her kids were penniless and almost homeless since the ditched T had their assets seized. I've given enough to make sure that didn't happen. She's lost most of her family through this. None of this was her fault, and she was just as blindsided as I was. She has been a true friend and a confidant through all of this. There is a weird gap in your story. How did your best friend end up in prison? Tell your parents to mind their own business, and that if they do not mind their own business, they won't be seeing their grandchildren. Your SW made her bed. She gets to live in the filth she built. He was having sex with OBS' underage cousin. She came forward after she found out about his affair with my SW. Several other women have come forward and pressed charges as well. He's also a real estate developer. While he was in jail, Hispanic real estate investors discovered that he had been spending and stealing an estimated $500,000 by paying for repairs under the table by unlicensed workers, not paying taxes on anything, cutting corners, and charging for work he didn't do. Charging literally everything to his business card, not work-related, not getting building approvals and inspections, etc. Holy, that would be a lot of years in jail. Agreed, this whole locking her out and she gets nothing sounds very improbable. Are there states that give the wrong party all of the household assets in the event of infidelity? Plus he spelled confident correctly? Yeah, in some states, infidelity makes it an at-fault divorce, which means that the at-fault party doesn't get much and won't get alimony. In some states, adultery is a felony. Many spouses have their spouse charged with adultery even though it really won't go anywhere because it can change no-fault divorce state into an at-fault divorce. Last I checked, there were 18 to 22 states that still had adultery as a criminal act. There's even jail time that's supposed to be associated with it. There's also 8 states that allow the spouse that was cheated on to go after the affair partner. It's called alienation of affection. A few years ago, a woman won $8 million from her ex-husband's affair partner. A man won close to $1 million a couple years ago as well. I split the accounts and she got her half of everything we had. I owned the house before we met, so it stays with me. Crazy. It makes sense. You may consider marriage as an economical association, but only from the moment it started. In any sensible legislation I can think of, if you happen to inherit something from a third party, it should also be yours and not a common property. You should make it clear to your souls that they are never to contact you again, and in your parents that they are out of your life until they offer a full apology and do not re-offend. Rampant prolonged infidelity is abuse, and they are trying to yoke you to your abuser. Despicable. Damn, I almost hope you end up with OBS at this point, just to make the point to everyone else to off. The only ones you owe a response to are your parents, but they are being stupidly ridiculous. Set them straight alone. Without her parents, explain the facts as they are, as you've laid them out. Explain how incredibly inappropriate it was for them to think they have the right to tell you what to do with your life or trust the words of someone else instead of coming straight to you. And tell them to cut their shit out or they are at risk of being cut off from you and their grandchildren. This will be the last that you speak of any event related to this, and if they ever bring it up again, expect it to be the last conversation you have with them for a long time. You're right, they've crossed a lot of boundaries and stepped into my marriage, and I'm very upset. They stuck their nose in without getting all the facts. I hope they snap out of this and realize it's never going to happen. I've been diplomatic but firm. I guess time will tell what kind of relationship we end up with. Still their grandparents, so I really hope they choose to simply accept and move on and not make this more difficult. I'm doing my best to make the relationship intact and close with their grandchildren. Why children don't need grandparents to survive or thrive. My children haven't had their grandparents around for over a decade because of their abuse, and it hasn't been an issue. Yeah, but they're not abusive. Aside from this, we had quite a good relationship, which is why it's so shocking they would do this. They are good to my kids and we've never fought before. But yes, I agree, pressuring me into taking her back was incredibly selfish on their part and had no consideration as to what was best for me or what I needed. I think my ex was the wool over their eyes, telling her version of what happened. She did admit to cheating, but seriously underplayed it. Then, you need to show them the records and proof of everything alone and remind them this was not an incident or an innocent mistake. It was a malicious, ongoing affair. If they don't come around after seeing the chat logs, the sexting, all the dirty, ugly stuff in there, they're helpless at this point. Emphasize to them that cheating lasted a couple of years. That's a relationship almost as long as your marriage. Also, you need to make them understand that there will be consequences if they don't stop. Make sure you enforce your chosen consequences. Pee with OBS at this point just to make the point to everyone else to off. Explain how incredibly 10 years and they still support her over their own son. I will give them this one sentence. Either you understand the absolute abuse that I have been subjected to for a decade and you deal with it and never mention it again, or you keep going down this path and you never see your grandchildren again. What they are doing is not only abusing boundaries, it's abusing you. Whether they mean to or not, then I would tell them in explicit detail everything your STV/SW has done. Don't try to spare them. See if they still take her side over yours. You're going to have to end the diplomacy. All it's gotten to us, unneeded stress from 4 people who don't care about your POV. You are the one who has been hurt. You for your STB/SW. To have these people doing her dirty work is even more despicable and repulsive almost than the cheating itself. If the confrontational approach doesn't work, then do it lovingly. Explain to your parents only exactly what happened. Be firm but loving. Ask them to discreetly share with the ex's parents so that they can end this nonsense. I understand your reasons for not sharing, but you've got to clear your name. There is a way to do it lovingly. I agree and I reaffirmed in no way, shape or form will there be another chance. They're still the grandparents of my children and this isn't their fault. It's shitty of them to take her side though and pressure me into an outcome they want for their own reasons without consideration for the hell I've been through. What valid reason could they have for them to want you to subject yourself to that type of betrayal again? You'd never be able to trust her again. You'd live your life seeing her lying face down, wondering every time you went to work or she left the house if she was betraying you again. That's a miserable way to live. The emotional toll that would take would be massive. What benefit would they get that they are willing to put you through that type of suffering? That's just the effect it would have on you. That's no atmosphere your children should have to grow up in either. The only reason I can think they would suggest it is because of the outdated view that divorce is embarrassing to the family and might make them look bad. A 10-year affair is not an aberration. It is not a mistake. It is who she is. There is no overlooking or forgiving that, in my opinion. And anyone who expects you to forgive and move past that is not concerned for your well-being. It's not just shitty. It's condoning the abuse you are suffering from. What the heck kind of people throw their own kid under the bus like that? I get her parents plowing through your boundaries as they have tunnel vision to help their daughter, but your parents? Terrible on their part. What happens when one of your kids gets bullied? Will they advise to them to just take it and do nothing? Tell your parents and her parents to F off. Reading this is so frustrating and maddening. What is wrong with them? Reconcile. Nobody has the right to tell you that after your ex-W spread her legs to your friend and goes home to kiss you goodnight. I'll tell you then, they are the worst example and model for your children. Who on the effing mind tells their son to get back on with a cheating, lying shit spouse? Congratulations, OP. You're making the best decision for you and your kids. May karma double down on your cheating ex-W. Cheaters don't deserve any ounce of respect. I'm sorry you've had to go through all of this, but I agree with Delta. Ignore the parents. They don't know the half of the ordeal and you're buying into her BS. You don't need more of her toxicity in your life. She made her choice and you and your kids weren't a priority. You keep doing you. Good luck. My ex-in-laws are still good people. They are just having a hard time accepting it's over. I still want them to have a good relationship with my kids and they're under a lot of pressure from my ex, so I'm being diplomatic for now. Let's move on to my thoughts and advice for the person that is dealing with this problem. The protagonist's decision to end the marriage after discovering a long-term affair is understandable, given the extent of betrayal and deception involved. It's clear that he took deliberate steps to protect his own well-being and that of his children, which is commendable. The intervention by both set of parents adds another layer of complexity to the situation. While the parents may have the best intentions and may want what they believe is best for their children, it's essential to remember that the primary focus should be on the well-being of the protagonist and the children. The decision to reconcile or not should ultimately rest with the person who was wronged. The story highlights the challenges of navigating family relationships during a divorce, especially when one party tries to manipulate the situation or cast themselves in a more favorable light. It also illustrates the importance of setting boundaries and making decisions to prioritize one's own emotional and mental health. Ultimately, the protagonist's choice to prioritize his well-being and that of his children is a valid and reasonable response to a deeply hurtful situation. It's essential for him to stay true to his decision and not let external pressure sway him. In summary, this story showcases the complexities of dealing with infidelity, divorce, and family dynamics. It underscores the importance of prioritizing one's well-being and that of his children. It's a valid and reasonable response to a deeply hurtful situation. It's essential for him to stay true to his decision and not let external pressures sway him. In summary, these stories showcases the complexities of dealing with infidelity, divorce, and family dynamics. It underscores the importance of prioritizing one's well-being and making decisions that are in the best of interest of all parties involved, particularly the children. I wish you the best of luck moving forward. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care.